to share with you today is really what I've learned over the last 8 years of raising around 140 million for 300 different companies. And the great thing about it is that these companies, it's not smart investors that invest in them, so you've got to have a completely different strategy. And that's why I think it's really applicable to the investment areas that you work in, because you've got to attract people that are passionate about something that you're doing, get their support, nurture them, and welcome them to the table. But first of all, I'll just point out a few trends that probably help you in finding those sort of investors. What we're moving from in the world today is from a centralised area where everybody used to go to one place to get funding to decentralised or eventually distributed. And you don't need to remember much of that, but that's the general trend. But from an overview, we used to get our information like the Wall Street Journal or the Times, or we'd stay at the Hilton. And then we moved to a next one, which was a decentralised one, which like Facebook, Twitter, Dropbox, Uber, where you go to a separate organisation that's got lots of people. And now we're moving to what they call distributed, and there's all sorts of words like blockchain and that come up, but that'll be very material in where we're going in the future. So one of the main trends is the internet. There's a lot more time being spent on the internet and a lot more users. If you look at that one, the number of hours spent per day has gone from 2008 to 5.6 hours, from 2.7 to 5.6 hours. People are spending more time on the internet. And also, back in 1995, there were 18 million people. There's now 3 billion people on the internet. And as we go forward to 2020, there'll be 7.5 billion people on the internet. Scary, isn't it? All those people out there. But in other words, though, they are people that are opportunities for you to be involved in whatever you are doing, and you've got the ability to connect with them. One of the things that does make it a little bit different is that how do you deal with these millennials? Because they're getting older, they're the ones that are going to have money and things like that. And if we look back in 1995, if you look at that crowd there, looking at the concert, then you look at this crowd in 2015, isn't it different? Isn't that weird? Like, you remember going to concerts and people say, oh, don't take a camera, you're not allowed to take a camera, and they never would see you allowed to take a phone. But now, they're not only texting, photographing, videoing, talking to people, they're involving the whole damn world in the concert that they happen to be at, which is really, really, really crazy. So they're always multitasking. They're constantly connected, they've got a short attention span, they've got appetite for collaboration, they're a very diverse group, and they're not all that brain conscious. So you've got to think, well, how can we harness those sort of people? So even if you look at that, look at the multitasking. They're not just sitting like good little girls and boys watching a concert, they're constantly connected, they've got a short attention span, they probably don't even listen to the whole song, they'll be doing all sorts of other things. To some degree they're probably collaborating, but that's the sort of thing, the world that people are going to. And in terms of the world market also, when we look at it, if we were a village of 100 people, 61 would be Asians, 5 would be Americans and Canadians, 1 South Pacific, 12 Europeans, and 14 Africans, and 8 Latin Americans. And you know, it's crazy when you think of it, because you tend to have your own sort of myopic view of what the world's all alike. And then, of course, not to mention the sharing economy. If you go back to the early days when we had like DVD rentals, that's declining, or it may move to another dimension. The mature ones in terms of car rentals and book rentals and beds and breakfasts and things, those things are going through the mature cycles, and then you've got lots of new ones, peer-to-peer crowdfunding and online sharing and things like that are just growing. So not only is all of this enveloping in terms of more people on the internet, a different type of people, but people are sharing more and more. And so you've got all these different things, shared opportunities, shared talent, shared systems, shared resources, where you get a lot of the ones in the tourism sector, and shared financing. And so it's a different ball game that's coming along. And some people are embracing it, like in the United Kingdom, creating a trust mark for businesses in the sharing economy, so that people become involved and they get a stamp and they recognise that these are good people in this sector to work with. So that's all heading in this direction, where if we go back 1,000 years ago, if you wanted a good project done, you had to go and see the king or the pharaoh or somebody like that. You go back just 100 years ago, it was often industrialists or governments or people like that there, but often you met a person like this. stood up there, and if you wanted to get government funding or investment, you'd go and see people like this. And that's what's breaking down, that part of it. It's becoming more and more decentralised in terms of the funding. And the reason why it is that the technical disruption, the internet is coming and able to process and handle and connect and transact at a lot smaller and more immediate level. But the thing that's more important is this cultural disruption, a desire for people to connect to things that are meaningful to them, things that they like, things that they're passionate. I was at a family office the other day where people had invested in business, the mum and dad, for many years, and they're passing it over to the children, and the children said, we don't want to invest in the same things as our mum and dad. We're not interested in charts and things like that. We're interested in investment that does good for the world. And you sort of think, well, you know, that's different, but that means they want to connect more meaningfully with things they buy, the things they do, and the things that they invest in. And the corner of this, in the centre of this is where you're getting online aggregation, where aggregation of people for a particular person come together, especially for funding. And that's where crowdfunding platforms come from. So out of that you get all the different platforms, and whether they're like Possible in Australia, which is for reward, where people get benefits, or if it's for debt like Society One, or it's for equity, or it's for a collaborative funding, people are coming together for that particular purpose. So if we look at some strategies in that for tourism, my belief is, after 300 raises, is funds come from supporters, people that are passionate about what you're doing. But you just got to gather them, you've got to find them and get them involved. Not just, oh, would you like to invest in this? It happens months before. You have to build it in advance. And whether it's from the federal government, state, local government, social investors, local investors, place investors, super funds, all sorts of things, you have to involve these people in a planned and methodical way to get them involved in what you want to raise money for. And it sort of starts, if you don't, what happens is you get a few investors and then the snowball, like building a snowball, it just goes like there. What you're going to get to a tipping point where you gather people and all of a sudden it gets a life of its own and goes all the way down to you get what you actually want. So it's just gather steam as you keep all the people around you involved about exactly what you're doing. And one of the best ways to assess this, I've found, is using these three circles: story, team, and supporters. So if somebody says, I've got this great idea for an ecotourism project or something like that, you say, right, tell me the story. And if it's a convincing, compelling, and credible story, somebody would say, yes, keep me updated, I really think that's great. Then you'll score 10 out of 10 for that. If you then think about it though, human beings they hear that, but underneath they're thinking of something else. They're thinking, is this person for real? You know, what's happening? Now these are extreme terms. Up there's the word charlatan, up there's the word martyr, and up there's the word hustler. And basically a charlatan is a guy or a person that talks, does no work, doesn't deliver, no walk. A martyr is a person that doesn't talk about much what they're doing, but they don't really deliver much. And the hustler is the supreme person that actually has mastered them both. If we look at Apple computers, in the beginning when Steve Jobs came home to Steve Wozniak and said, oh, guess what, I've sold 50 Apple Ones to the bike shop and we need them in 14 days. Steve Wozniak, of course, said, God, I only make circuit boards for mates, and then, you know, I scrounge the parts. How are we ever going to make 50? And Steve Jobs said, well, we've got to. You know, the rest is history. But in some ways, you did have the two of those people together. Sometimes you just get this person. They pitch, and it sounds great, but there's nothing at all behind it. So, in terms of when you go back here, the convincing, compelling, and credible story, you've got to have a balanced, passionate, capable, and likeable team. If I give you 30,000 or 100,000, are you guys really going to be able to do that? Have you got the people to implement it and do a good job? I've always found that's one of the most important things, that you can have the story, but you've got to then come in and say, and this is why we can do it and why this is the best team to do it. So 10 out of 10 for those two. And then of course you've got to have people that seriously think what you're doing is cool. They want to belong, they want to be part of it, they want to be involved. And that's the third thing. So if you get 10 out of 10 in all those three, I've got no doubt that your project would actually fly. So with the story, what is a compelling, credible story that puts your village, town, city, project, park area on the map? What is something like that? And then in terms of the team, Does the team have the capability and the credibility to implement that story? And then finally, who believes enough in that? Who thinks what you're doing is cool that can be involved in? And those are the people you have to gather. They may be on the other side of the world. They may be somebody you've got to introduce to you through a unique and wonderful blog article. They connect, you communicate, you gather them. And over a period of time, one day you'll ask them for funding. So, and what usually happens, it gets put up on a board or a crowdfunding site. You will have seen Kickstarter, Indiegogo, Possible, many, many others. That's the end of it, really. By the time it gets up there, it's ready to actually raise the capital. And you know, there's lots of things on the internet how to do a successful crowdfunding raise. But at the top, I've got 9 steps that I follow in terms of things, and this presentation is available to you. But plan, prepare, recruit, attract, enthuse. And that's even before you get the damn thing live. So you've got to plan it properly, you've got to prepare all the materials you need to do the raise, recruit ambassadors and influencers and people that can get out there and tell your story and communicate. And then you've got to attract other people to this and enthuse them and build the buzz and everything. Then you put the thing live. And when you put it live, you've got to have at least 40% of the investment or the contribution already signed off. So that once it goes up there, people say, wow, God, this thing's 40% funded already. Because there's nothing worse than looking there and seeing 1% and 2% funded and 3%. You have to get all that done. So by the time then it's around to promote and engage, accept the money, and then deliver what you've promised. And so that's it. It goes through a process that's well planned out. And, you know, that can be for any of these people. There's no reason why what happens is with governments or anybody, they can be involved in your process as long as many other funders. And today governments are typically saying, well, we don't want to fund everything. Have you got other people? Well, those are the people you gather and say, yes, we have. We've got 837 people that think what we're doing is really, really cool. So that's what I wanted to share with you today, was about my experience of raising funds. You can go into all sorts of wonderful calculations and things like that. So at the end of the day, I honestly believe it's gathering like-minded people together, communicating, nurturing them, getting involved in your mission and what you achieve. Then, after quite a long period of time, asking them to contribute and be part of it. Then publicise that, get other people in, and raise your money and complete your project. Thank you very much.